I was 32 years old the morning I realized being the dependable son had quietly erased me from my own family. Christmas morning at my parents' house smelled like cinnamon rolls and pine needles. The tree lights blinked in steady rhythm, casting warm shadows across wrapped boxes that seemed to multiply every year. My brother Xavier sat cross-legged near the tree like an oversized kid, already eyeing the biggest packages with that easy grin he'd perfected over the years. My sister Tiffany perched on the armrest of Dad's recliner, phone angled just right, probably live streaming our family moment to people who actually cared. I sat in my usual spot on the far couch, the uncomfortable one near the radiator that hissed too loud and made the cushion smell like dust. Nobody ever fought me for it. Mom called from the kitchen asking if I wanted coffee, but she didn't wait for an answer. She never did. The question was just decoration, something to fill the space where conversation should have been. Xavier tore into his first gift with the enthusiasm of someone who'd never paid for anything himself. Inside the metallic silver paper was a watch, the kind with a brand name that gleams even in soft light, the kind that costs more than my monthly rent. "No way," he said, holding it up like a trophy. "Mom, Dad, this is incredible." Dad beamed. Mom clapped her hands together like she'd just witnessed something miraculous. Tiffany leaned over to inspect it, making those approving sounds people make when they're performing for an audience. "You deserve it, honey," Mom said. "You worked so hard this year." Xavier worked in sales. He'd told me once, during one of his rare honest moments, that he mostly played golf with clients and let the senior guys close the deals. But he had the charm, the smile, the ease of someone who'd never been told no. Tiffany went next. Her box was flatter, elegant. She peeled the paper carefully, like she might reuse it. Inside was a designer bag, the kind with a name I recognized from billboards. Her squeal could have shattered windows. "Oh my God," she said, hugging it to her chest. "I've been wanting this forever." Mom looked proud enough to burst. Only the best for my girl. Tiffany worked part-time at a boutique, the kind of job that sounded artistic but paid in store discounts. She'd moved back home 2 years ago to save money, which really meant she didn't pay rent while building her Instagram following. Then came my turn. The box was small, really small, the kind you'd get from a pharmacy impulse rack. The wrapping paper was left over from someone else's gift, folded clumsily with visible tape seams. I opened it slowly, already knowing what kind of message this sent. Inside was a $10 gift card to a chain coffee shop. Tucked underneath was a note card in Mom's handwriting. "Don't spend it all at once." The room got quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then Mom laughed. "You don't care about presents anyway, Liam," she said. "You've always been so practical." Tiffany giggled without looking up from her new bag. Xavier grinned, fastening the watch around his wrist. Dad just sipped his coffee, eyes on the TV, playing a football pregame show. I smiled. I'd gotten very good at smiling. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Practical." Nobody noticed when I stood up and walked to the dining room. Nobody asked where I was going. They were too busy admiring their gifts, taking photos, planning where they'd show off their new things. I sat down at the table, opened my laptop, and started typing. The screen glowed in front of me, steady blue light that felt colder than the winter morning outside. My coffee, bought with that $10 gift card I hadn't even left the house to use yet, sat untouched beside the keyboard. From the living room, I could hear them laughing. Xavier was showing Dad how the watch connected to his phone. Tiffany was already posting photos, her voice bright and performative as she narrated for the camera. I pulled up my banking app first. The number stared back at me, cold and factual. Mortgage payment to Mom and Dad's house. $2,400 monthly. Auto pay set up 6 years ago when Dad's hours got cut, and they almost lost the place. I'd been covering it ever since, watching my account drain like clockwork while they remodeled the kitchen and bought new furniture. Car insurance for Xavier's Audi. $340 monthly. He'd totaled his last car driving drunk, so the premium was steep. I'd quietly added him to my policy after his rates came back uninsurable. He thought Dad paid it. Car insurance for Tiffany's SUV, $280 monthly. She'd gotten 3 speeding tickets in 2 years. Same story, different vehicle. Phone plan, family bundle, $290 monthly for 4 lines. Mine, plus the 3 of them. Streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, Disney+, Spotify family plan, another $85 monthly. Utilities. I'd been covering the overflow whenever their budget came up short, which was almost every month. Average contribution, $200. Health insurance. I'd added Mom to my company plan when she quit her job to focus on herself 2 years ago. Premium increase, $450 monthly. Credit card minimums. Xavier owed me $6,000. Tiffany owed $3,800, both from emergencies that never quite got paid back. There was more. The homeowner's insurance I'd helped with, the property tax gap I'd filled, the emergency vet fund I'd created when their dog needed surgery, the vacation deposit for their summer lake rental. I opened a spreadsheet, something I'd been keeping for 3 years but never looked at too closely. The total came to $174,000. Over 8 years of silent support, invisible contributions. Not one thank you. They'd gotten me a $10 gift card. Liam, Mom's voice cut through my thoughts. Can you run to the store? We need heavy cream for dinner. I didn't answer. I was already clicking into the mortgage payment portal. Xavier appeared in the doorway, his new watch catching the light. Dude, you good? Mom needs cream. I'm busy, I said. He laughed. Busy? It's Christmas, man. Relax. I am relaxing. He shrugged and left. Through the doorway, I heard him tell Mom I was being weird. She sighed, that long-suffering sound she made when I didn't jump fast enough. I canceled the mortgage autopay first. The confirmation screen asked if I was sure. I clicked yes. Then the car insurance, both policies. The system gave me a countdown. Coverage would end in 48 hours unless renewed. I moved to the phone plan next. Disconnection notice would go out tonight. Service would stop by morning. The streaming services went faster. One by one, the accounts blinked out. Subscriptions ending. Access revoked. I pulled up the shared emergency fund account, the one I'd seeded with $10,000 for family needs. I transferred every dollar back to my personal savings. The health insurance took longer. I had to call the benefits line, wait through hold music, and request Mom's removal from my plan. The representative asked if I was sure. I said yes, effective immediately. By the time I closed the laptop, 2 hours had passed. The house had gone quieter. Dinner prep sounds drifted from the kitchen. Someone had turned on a holiday movie. I stood, stretched, and walked back into the living room. Tiffany glanced up from her phone. Finally, can you help set the table? Sure, I said. I set the table slowly, placing each fork and knife with care. Mom brought out the roast. Dad carved it, and we sat down like nothing had changed. But everything had. I drove home after dinner, the roads quiet and slick with late evening frost. My apartment sat on the 3rd floor of a building with no elevator. The kind of place you choose when you're paying everyone else's bills and have nothing left for luxury. The silence felt heavier than usual. I made tea, something I only did when I needed my hands busy. The kettle whistled, shrill and insistent, cutting through the stillness. I poured the water over a bag of Earl Grey and watched the color bleed out, dark and slow. My phone sat face down on the counter. I hadn't checked it since leaving their house. Part of me wanted to feel guilty. That old voice, the one I'd grown up with, whispered that family was supposed to come first, that I was supposed to be the dependable one, the responsible one, the one who kept everything running smoothly while everyone else got to be messy and selfish and loved anyway. But another part of me, the part that had opened a $10 gift card while my siblings unwrapped hundreds of dollars in luxury, felt something colder, something sharper. I sat on the couch with my tea and stared at the wall. The apartment was small. One bedroom, a bathroom with a shower that never got quite hot enough, a kitchen where the cabinets didn't close right. I'd lived here for 4 years because every time I saved enough for a down payment on something better, someone in my family needed money. Xavier's car repair, Tiffany's credit card debt, Mom's medical bills, Dad's truck transmission. I'd said yes every time. I pulled out my phone. 17 messages. 3 from Mom. Liam, did you pick up cream? Where did you go? Call me. 2 from Tiffany. Hey, can you Venmo me $200 for New Year's plans? NVM, just send it whenever. 1 from Xavier. Yo, can you send me the login for HBO? Mine's not working. Nothing about the gift card. Nothing that even acknowledged the disparity, the insult, the years of one-sided generosity that had just been casually dismissed with a joke. I set the phone down and drank my tea. Outside, someone's car alarm went off, blaring for 30 seconds before cutting out. A door slammed. Voices drifted up from the street, laughing and careless. I thought about the watch on Xavier's wrist, the bag on Tiffany's shoulder. I thought about the spreadsheet on my laptop, the one that documented $174,000 in invisible support. I thought about the $10 gift card sitting in my jacket pocket. By the time I went to bed, I still hadn't responded to any of the messages. I didn't sleep well. My mind kept circling back to the moment Mom had laughed, the way Tiffany and Xavier had barely looked up, the casual cruelty of being erased while everyone else got celebrated. At 3 in the morning, I got up and checked my banking app again. The mortgage payment had officially been canceled. The next automatic draft wouldn't happen. Their account would show insufficient funds when the bill came due. The car insurance policies were in the grace period, 48 hours until coverage lapsed. The phone plan would disconnect at midnight tomorrow. Everything else had already started unraveling. I scrolled through the messages again. Still, nothing that mattered. Just asks, demands, casual expectations that I'd keep playing the role I'd been assigned. I turned off my phone and went back to bed. This time, I slept. Morning came with weak winter light filtering through the blinds. I made coffee, the cheap kind that came in bulk, and sat at my small kitchen table. The memories came without asking. I was 16 when it started. Dad had just gotten laid off from the factory, the second time in 3 years. Money got tight fast. There were arguments behind closed doors, the kind where voices rose and fell in waves, and we all pretended not to hear. Xavier was 13, still young enough to be shielded from it. Tiffany was 10, oblivious and loud and constantly asking for things. I got a job at a grocery store, stocking shelves after school, $8.50 an hour, 20 hours a week. I told myself it was temporary, just until Dad got back on his feet. I handed over half my paycheck every week. Mom would take it with a smile, a hand on my shoulder, telling me I was such a good son. It felt good back then. Being useful. Being needed. By the time I was 18 and heading to college, they'd stabilized. Dad had a new job. The panic had passed, but the expectation had been set. I worked through college, juggling classes and shifts at the campus IT desk. I sent money home when they asked, which was often. Books for Tiffany, car repairs for Xavier, a new fridge when theirs broke. I graduated with honors and a job offer. Xavier barely graduated high school and spent a year finding himself, which meant sleeping till noon and playing video games. Tiffany decided college wasn't for her and moved back home after one semester. They both got support, patience, grace. I got asked to help with bills. When I was 24, Dad sat me down at the kitchen table, back when I still lived at home and hadn't yet found this apartment. "Liam, we need to talk about the mortgage." He explained the numbers, the gap between what they made and what they owed. He said it would just be temporary. 6 months, maybe a year. I said yes. That was 8 years ago. In that time, Xavier had gone through 4 jobs, 3 cars, and 2 DUIs. Tiffany had started and quit 6 different ventures, each one requiring startup money. Mom had quit her job. Dad had switched to part-time. And I just kept paying. Nobody asked how I was doing. Nobody noticed that I drove a car from 2009 with a dent in the passenger door. Nobody wondered why I never took vacations or bought new clothes or talked about my own life. I was the dependable one. The practical one. The one who didn't need things like recognition or appreciation or a gift that cost more than $10. I stared into my coffee, watching the surface ripple from the vibration of a truck passing outside. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the invisibility. At every family dinner, every holiday, every gathering, the conversation flowed around me. Xavier's job prospects. Tiffany's latest project. Mom's book club. Dad's golf league. When I tried to share something, a promotion at work, a project I was proud of, the responses were brief. "That's great, honey." Then back to Xavier's drama or Tiffany's needs. I'd become a background character in my own family, a wallet with no voice. I pulled out my phone and checked the messages. 23 now. Xavier. "Dude, my insurance app says my policy is canceled. Is this a glitch?" Tiffany. "Why isn't Netflix working?" Mom. "Liam, call me right now. Something's wrong with the mortgage." I set the phone face down and finished my coffee. They found me at the coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment. I'd walked there to use the $10 gift card, partly because I wanted to see what it bought, and partly because I knew they'd start showing up soon. I was right. Mom came through the door first, scanning the room with that pinched expression she wore when things didn't go her way. She spotted me in the corner booth and made a straight line toward me, Dad following close behind. "Liam." She slid into the seat across from me, not waiting for an invitation. "We need to talk." Dad sat beside her, arms crossed. He looked tired, older than his 58 years. "What's going on with the mortgage payment?" Mom kept her voice low but sharp. "It didn't go through. The bank called." I took a sip of my coffee. Medium roast. Nothing fancy. The gift card had covered it with $3.27 left over. "I canceled it," I said. The words hung in the air like smoke. Mom blinked. "You what?" "I canceled the automatic payment." Dad leaned forward. "Liam, this isn't funny. We have a payment due in 3 days." "I know." "So what are you doing?" Mom's voice pitched higher. "Is this about the gift card? Because if you're upset about Christmas, We can talk about it like adults. I set down my coffee. I've been paying your mortgage for 8 years. I've covered your car insurance, your phones, your streaming services, your emergencies. I've given you $174,000. And yesterday, you gave me a $10 gift card with a joke written inside. Mom's face flushed. We appreciate everything you do, but you make good money, Liam. We thought you understood. Understood what? That family helps family. Family goes both ways, Mom, Dad cut in, his tone harder. We raised you. We put a roof over your head for 18 years. You don't get to throw that in our faces now. I'm not throwing anything. I'm just done being the only one who gives. This is ridiculous. Mom shook her head. You're overreacting. We'll get you a better gift, okay? But you can't just stop paying the mortgage. We'll lose the house. Then Xavier and Tiffany can help. Mom's laugh was bitter. They don't have your income. They have watches and designer bags. Those were gifts. So was mine. The silence stretched around us. The coffee shop hummed with low conversation, the hiss of the espresso machine, the clink of mugs. Dad stood abruptly. Fix this, Liam. Today. No. He stared at me, something shifting behind his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or the first edge of panic. You're really going to do this? Mom's voice dropped, quieter now, but no less cutting. You're going to punish us because you didn't like your gift? This isn't about the gift, I said. It's about 8 years of being treated like an ATM instead of a son. Mom stood too, gathering her purse. When you calm down and stop being selfish, call us. Until then, I don't want to hear from you. They left without looking back. I sat there for a long time, staring at the cold coffee and the $3.27 remaining on the gift card. My phone buzzed. Xavier this time. A string of angry messages about his car insurance lapsing and how I'd screwed him over. I turned off my phone and walked home. I spread everything out on my kitchen table like evidence at a trial. Bank statements, going back 8 years, receipts, screenshots, email confirmations, every transaction, every payment, every transfer documented in neat rows. The numbers didn't lie. I pulled out a legal pad and started writing. Not for them, necessarily. For myself. To make sense of what I was doing and why it mattered. The first list was titled, Things They Got Me. High school graduation, $50 gift card. College graduation. Dinner at a chain restaurant, split check. Every birthday since age 24. Cards, sometimes with $20 inside. Last 8 Christmases. Practical gifts. Books I didn't read. Gadgets I didn't need. Nothing over $30. This year, $10 gift card with a joke. The second list was titled, Things They Got Xavier. Cars, 3, totaling around $85,000 in value. Watch, $4,500. Vacations, at least 5 family trips he didn't pay for. Rent, 0. Living at home. Legal fees, $6,000 for DUI lawyer. The third list was titled, Things They Got Tiffany. Designer bag, $2,800. Rent, 0. Living at home. Business startup funds, $12,000 across various ventures. Phone upgrades, yearly, always the newest model. Car, $30,000 SUV. Insurance paid. I stared at the lists for a long time. My phone, still turned off, sat beside the legal pad. I knew what waited when I turned it back on. More messages, more demands, more accusations that I was being selfish or cruel or punishing them unfairly. But the lists didn't support that narrative. I opened my laptop and pulled up the email I'd been drafting for the past hour. To Mom, Dad, Xavier, Tiffany. Subject: Financial arrangements. I've decided to discontinue financial support effective immediately. This includes mortgage payments, car insurance, phone plans, utilities, health insurance, and any emergency or personal loans. I've attached a full accounting of payments made over the past 8 years, totaling $174,000. I don't expect repayment. I do expect independence. Moving forward, I'm not available for financial requests or emergency funding. Please make arrangements accordingly. Best, Liam. I read it 3 times. It felt cold, transactional, but trying to explain the emotional weight, the years of feeling invisible, the Christmas gift that broke something I didn't know could break. All of that felt pointless. They wouldn't hear it anyway. I clicked send. The email whooshed into the void. I closed the laptop and looked at the evidence spread across the table. Years of my life reduced to numbers and receipts. Outside, the city hummed. A siren wailed somewhere distant. A dog barked. Life continued, indifferent and relentless. I gathered the papers into a folder, labeled it Family Finances, and put it in my desk drawer. Then I made dinner. Pasta, simple and quick. I ate alone at the table, the space where the papers had been now empty and clean. My phone stayed off. For the first time in 8 years, I felt something close to peace. The first call came at 6 in the morning on December 27th. I'd turned my phone back on to check work emails, and it immediately exploded with notifications. 47 messages, 12 missed calls. I listened to the voicemails while making coffee. Mom, frantic. Liam, the mortgage company called again. They're threatening foreclosure proceedings if we don't pay by the end of the month. You have to fix this. Xavier. Angry. My car insurance lapsed, and I got pulled over. I have to pay a fine now. What the hell, man? Tiffany, dramatic. I can't believe you're doing this. Mom is crying. Do you even care about this family? Dad, cold. Call me. I deleted them all. The email I'd sent had been read by everyone. Nobody had responded directly, but the voicemails made their position clear. They wanted the money back on. They wanted things to go back to normal. I made toast, scrambled some eggs, and ate breakfast while scrolling through my banking app. Every automatic payment had been successfully canceled. Every subscription had ended. The emergency fund sat back in my personal savings account. The next call came while I was in the shower, then another while I was getting dressed. By the time I left for work, my phone had 15 new calls. I blocked all their numbers. At work, I focused on a project deadline, grateful for the distraction. My coworker Gabrielle asked if I'd had a good Christmas. I said yes. She showed me photos of her kids. I smiled and nodded. Normal felt good. Lunch came with an unexpected visitor. Tiffany showed up at my office building, somehow getting past the front desk. She found me in the cafeteria. Her face was a mix of anger and desperation. We need to talk. She sat down across from me without asking. I'm on lunch. Liam, this is serious. Mom and Dad are freaking out. The mortgage is due and they don't have the money. That's not my problem anymore. Her eyes widened. How can you say that? Pretty easily. They raised you. They gave you everything. I set down my sandwich. They gave Xavier and you everything. They gave me expectations. That's not fair. You're right, it wasn't. Tiffany leaned forward, her voice dropping. If they lose the house, where are they going to go? I don't know. Maybe Xavier can help. He got a nice watch. That's petty. No, petty is a $10 gift card. She sat back, her expression shifting. For a moment, something like understanding flickered across her face. Then it hardened again. "You're punishing all of us because you didn't like your gift. I'm setting boundaries because I spent 8 years being invisible." "You're not invisible. You're family." "Family gets more than $10, Tiffany." She left without saying goodbye. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Dad, using Mom's phone since I'd blocked his. "The bank is threatening to start foreclosure. We need $7,200 by Friday to avoid penalties. Please." I didn't respond. The next morning, Xavier showed up at my apartment. He pounded on the door until I opened it. "We need to talk," he said, pushing past me into the living room. "No, we don't." "You can't do this, Liam. You can't just cut everyone off." "Watch me." "Mom's having panic attacks. Dad's not sleeping. Tiffany's scared." "They'll figure it out." Xavier's face reddened. "What is wrong with you?" "Nothing. For the first time in 8 years, absolutely nothing." "You're destroying this family." "No, Xavier. I'm letting this family stand on its own." He stared at me, breathing hard. "You know what? Fine. Keep your money. But don't come crawling back when you realize you need us." "I won't." He slammed the door on his way out. I made dinner, watched a movie, and went to bed early. Friday came. The mortgage deadline passed. I didn't call, didn't check in, didn't ask what happened. My phone stayed blissfully quiet. The fallout came in waves. First wave, Mom and Dad scraped together the mortgage payment by borrowing from Dad's brother, my Uncle Weston. They had to promise repayment within 6 months and offer the title to Dad's truck as collateral. I heard this third hand from a cousin who thought I should know. I didn't respond. Second wave, Xavier's car got towed after he drove without insurance and got into a minor fender bender. The other driver's insurance covered their damage, but Xavier had to pay impound fees, towing costs, and reinstate his policy at a much higher rate. He posted a long rant on social media about family betrayal. I wasn't tagged, but people figured it out. I didn't comment. Third wave, Tiffany's credit cards got declined at a boutique where she was shopping for New Year's Eve. Turns out she'd been using the emergency fund I'd seeded as a backup for overdrafts. With that gone, and her own account empty, the charges bounced. She had to leave her cart and walk out in front of customers and coworkers. I didn't reach out. Fourth wave, Mom's health insurance lapse meant a doctor's appointment got billed at full cost. $340 for a routine checkup. She called from Uncle Weston's phone, leaving a tearful message about how I was jeopardizing her health. I saved the message but didn't reply. By mid-January, the family group chat, which I'd muted but not left, was a graveyard of unanswered messages. They'd tried bargaining, guilting, and threatening. When none of that worked, the messages stopped. On January 18th, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Mom, handwritten on floral stationery. "Liam, I don't know what we did to deserve this, but I hope you're happy. Your father and I are struggling to keep the house. Xavier is thousands of dollars in debt. Tiffany is humiliated. You've torn this family apart over pride. I know you're angry about Christmas. I know the gift wasn't much, but you've always been practical, and we thought you'd understand. We didn't realize you were keeping score. If you ever decide to stop punishing us, we'll be here. But I don't know how much longer we can hold on." Mom. I read it twice, then put it in the folder with the financial documents. That same day, I got a message from Gabrielle at work. She'd seen Xavier's social media post and connected the dots. "Hey, you okay?" she asked during a coffee break. "Yeah, family stuff." "I saw your brother's post. Sounds intense. It is what it is. She hesitated, then said, "For what it's worth, you seem lighter lately. Like something lifted." I thought about that. She was right. The knot in my chest, the one I'd carried for 8 years, had loosened. I slept better. I stopped checking my bank account with dread. I made plans for myself. Small things, like upgrading my car or booking a weekend trip. "Thanks," I said. "I think something did." By February, the silence from my family had become permanent. No more calls, no more messages, no more surprise visits. I didn't miss them. On Valentine's Day, I treated myself to dinner at a nice restaurant, the kind I'd always avoided because it felt too expensive. I ordered steak and wine and dessert. The bill came to $80. I paid it with cash, including a generous tip, and walked out feeling like I'd won something. At home, I pulled out the folder one last time. I looked at the numbers, the receipts, the evidence of 8 years spent being someone's safety net. Then I shredded it all. The paper fell into the bin in long, thin strips, unreadable and irrelevant. I didn't need proof anymore. I knew what I'd done, and I knew why it mattered. That night, I started planning a vacation. Somewhere warm, somewhere far away. Somewhere I could go without asking permission or checking if anyone needed me first. I booked a flight to Costa Rica for March. 2 weeks on a beach, with nothing but books and silence. When I closed my laptop, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Being dependable doesn't make you valued. It makes you easy to take for granted, until you stop. I learned that the hard way. And the peace it brought me? That was worth more than $174,000 could ever buy. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.